5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I've just immediately sat down in the wrong place after I'd got the camera perfectly aligned. That's good enough. There's some kind of art to how you're supposed to have cameras set up, I think. But whatever. Pop out chat. I need that. How's everyone doing? All right, that's a mood. Caradog's mood is right. Oh, Siegward of Katerina. Oh. I can't figure out this inscrutable lift. Right, can't hear Caradog. Oh, hold on. All right, say some words again.
Words.
There we go. Good old Windows update. You update every time there's a Windows update, OBS just resets all of its audio settings. Right.
That sounds like an OBS problem.
I think it is. It's been this way for a long time.
I mean, it's not like Windows updates are a new phenomena.
Yeah. It's been like this for a long time. I don't know whose fault it is. So yeah, Caradog has gone very quiet. Oh no. Let me boost you up a bit. It doesn't. Oh, okay. I've boosted. All right, I have boosted Caradog. Say something else. Uh-oh.
Hello there.
Too loud.
Good afternoon, people.
Good afternoon.
I was also talking quietly.
Okay.
I will put on the radio voice.
Yeah. Does this make me sound like I'm on old-time radio? Okay. Too loud. All right. Let us know if he's too loud while we're doing it. Wasn't that funny? All right. How are we all doing, people?
Hello.
How are we all doing? What's everyone up to today?
Good afternoon.
I'm going to magnify my chat so I can read it a bit easier. Looks like a god from a cloud. Fair enough.
Yes. I mean, it was proclaimed that I should be renamed Caradog. From Caradog to Caragod.
Caragod.
On the Discord. So yes.
It's all going to go to his head, everyone. Okay.
I mean, you should. Yes.
So
I have a wonderful letter in my drawer.
I didn't say 4:30 on the thing, did I?
Have you successfully messed up your thingies? The preview thingy, what's it, Majiggle Jigger, stream this video at a specific time. Set 15:45.
Yeah, that's got 3:45 PM on my screen, so no, you are wrong. We did not say 4:30.
Unless you tweeted it at the wrong time.
I didn't even tweet it, so that would require me to have tweeted it at all.
Good lord.
As a special treat, I will tweet that we are actually live now. In the meantime, we should probably actually start talking about something because we're this long into the stream.
Absolutely. We should start discussing tea and how what you drink isn't actually tea.
No, let's talk about some tech for a change. And also, I've been recording videos this afternoon, so I'm going to frequently look at the wrong camera for the entirety of this now. So,
oh well. One thing I am impressed with is the latency on the YouTube stream. It actually seems to be very short right now.
Yeah, it seems all right. I mean, we always have it on the medium low lag setting. There are two settings. There is a no lag reduction, a medium lag reduction, and a lot of lag reduction. And I have it on the middle stage because I'm like, this is a podcast. We don't need cutting edge lag reduction here. And I'm assuming that if you have it at bleeding edge, you're probably going to lose some frames here and there. So, I mean, we could probably test that sometime out of interest, but I don't see the value in getting the lag any lower than what it currently is.
No, absolutely. Because it was purely a case of I was like, oh, wow, it's actually really quite good considering it doesn't say that it's sort of a low latency mode. That was certainly Mix's
Mixer's party trick.
Party trick was just the fact that you could basically play games via streaming.
FTL is nuts, man. It was really good. I mean, like Twitch is perfectly fine these days. I mean, I remember when Twitch was like between 10 and 20 seconds average kind of thing. And so, for me, when I first joined Mixer for game streaming and I saw that 0 lag, I'm like, now this is cool. However, these days...
this is pod racing.
Yeah. Most Twitch streams these days, it's easy to get it to sub 5 seconds, and that's fine. Like, the streamer isn't even looking at the chat that often anyway. So, certainly when I'm streaming games, I'm not looking at the chat every 5 seconds. So, whatever. Although, I guess it makes people feel more into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's purely the case of where you can see this huge delay and it suddenly feels like there's this massive disconnect.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Attempting to hold any sort of conversation with the chat when there's like a 20 or 30 second delay you're just kind of sat there going,
I think that's...
Yes, good question.
Yeah, I think that's one of the nice things. I guess this is a topic of sorts, but... so for those of you who don't know, I do stream games on Twitch. I stream on Thursdays and Sundays at twitch.tv/nethism. But recently, I usually have the chat on screen. And recently, I tried turning it off because I was like, I don't feel like this adds anything to the stream. However, quite a few people, I think, actually like having the on-screen chat because, if nothing else, because it means that when they actually say something in chat and they see it come up on screen, they know that I've seen it, or at least they know that it has come up on my screen as well, and it gives them that feedback of when they type into chat and when that is visible on the stream kind of thing. It makes them feel more connected to the stream, I think, and that's one of the reasons why I ended up turning it back on again, which is kind of interesting. But yeah. Right, I'm trying to find the URL for this stream so I can tweet it.
Copy it from Discord.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually going to do because I'm also trying to talk about things at the same time.
Absolutely, right. And I'm going to piggyback off of the back about you saying trying to talk about something, and I'm going to leap straight in on something.
Okay, before you do that, Chris Kingan, thank you very much for the $10. Here's to another great live stream. It's off to a good start so far. With that in mind,
that's what I was about to jump on.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's fine. You covered it. It's all good. No, it's fine. As someone else was saying about best program for stress testing GPUs, I just find that particularly worthwhile considering the conversation that half happened in the Discord earlier.
I was gonna say, do you want to just briefly cover that while I do this tweet?
Yes, absolutely. And because I'm not signed in, if you felt it was appropriate, if you wanted to post a link to the video that caused the conversation.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I must admit, I have not watched it yet. However, I think the subject matter is interesting, and
I have. It's basically just it's a voiceover on Destiny gameplay, but it covers the salient points which triggered the conversation. That's the reason why.
Yeah, we're talking about Commander Soyo's video, right? Or is this the other one that was posted in that?
No, that one specifically.
The one that was in self-promo, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. His video saying basically don't use the fuzzy donut of death. Don't use the fuzzy donut of death for testing your clocks.
Cool.
Because basically all modern drivers detect it as the power virus that it is and thus reduce their clocks, which then means it's not useful for stress testing the actual core.
Yeah, so this is a video from Commander Soyo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Who was in the Discord? I need to watch more of his content. I keep seeing his videos coming up in the self-promo channel, and I keep looking at the titles and the thumbnails going, that looks really interesting. But I don't have any time for anything. I can watch really dumb stuff that I don't need to watch, but all of the research stuff that I should be watching, I don't have time for. But whatever. Anyway, he's been posting what looks like really great content. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been good. It's been good YouTube. Sorry, it's been good videos on just sort of faffing around with graphics cards and stuff. So yeah, it's good content for that. He rebuilt a VRM on one of his cards. And and something else. So
he does a lot of he does PCB breakdowns as well and VRM breakdowns. A lot like the kind of stuff that Buildzoid actually hardcore overclocking does. But I'm assuming with a bit more production. Is that the right word?
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, yeah.
But just a case of definitely shorter videos. Certainly much more
something a bit more accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all great. But yes, it was a case that basically saying about you don't use FurMark to test core or memory overclocks on your graphics cards, because that's not what it's designed for. If you want to do that,
that's not what it's designed for.
No. As far as I can tell, it wasn't specifically designed to do that.
Interesting, because my understanding is that it was always intended to be a stability test. It's just, my understanding is that it's just simply old and is just out of date.
As far as I'm aware, it's not specifically being designed to test overclocking in the sense of core clocks and memory clocks. In that sense, it was designed to more test the, total power throughput and so on, in a sense. So that's obviously kind of a change over time as well. Because, it's, as far as I can tell, it's basically gone unaltered for, 10 years?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're running it. We're running it at higher and higher resolutions and higher anti-aliasing to stress the cards more and more. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's not hitting things as hard as it used to, or failing that, it doesn't hit them with it. It doesn't seem to be a realistic load anymore, and that it literally alludes to what we're saying here, where
it's no longer particularly relevant because the type of math it's doing isn't relevant.
Exactly that. And on that note, I mean, obviously the obvious next question is, okay, well, what is a good test then? And my answer to that, what I said in this conversation that we were having in Discord, is that I took a leaf out of Jay's 2 Cents book, and I've been using Unigine Heaven. And I used that to great effect a couple of weeks ago. The Lian Li 011D build we did?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not out on the channel yet, but the one that we spent all day on. It's not on the channel yet, but I'm working on it. It's a long video. But yeah, that one, I was doing a little bit of tweaking with the overclock on the RTX 2070 Super in that build. And I found that Unigine Heaven was gold for that. I literally I set up Unigine Heaven, had it pointing at just a really good scene where just everything was in view at the same time, and just started doing the overclocks. And it was great because you can sit there tweaking the clocks while it's running windowed, because like a lot of the newer stuff doesn't like it when you try and tab out and stuff like that, whereas Heaven is old enough that you can just have it running in a window, but it's sitting there maxing the card, and you can tweak your graphics card overclock, and as soon as you start getting unstable, you can clearly see just jittery artifact lines to start going on the screen, and then it can be like, oh, back it up, and you can just sit there and do it in real time. And obviously, if you step over the line, you crash. However, if you nudge it up bit by bit, you can just go right up to that line without any crashes at all, and then you go right up to that line, take a step back, and that's where your overclock sits.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also the other case. Kind of, it leads on to people saying about degradation of silicon. And it's a case of, I feel like most of the time, it's a case that people haven't actually degraded the silicon. They've just found a different game or something that tests something in a slightly different way. So the overclock was actually always unstable. They've just found something that actually proves that.
I could believe that, yeah.
Which is kind of a case of, because certainly most of the unless you're actually physically modifying the card to get higher voltages and things like that, they're so restricted comparatively now that it's really hard for you to do actual damage to them.
Yeah.
And it's not like...
And also a lot of people, I think, are possibly just overestimating what you can do with a daily driver overclock, because obviously, especially with the YouTube tech scene being what it is, you've got every channel out there that's saying sort of, oh, we overclocked our graphics card by this much, you know. And also, like, especially when you get people doing, you know, trying to shoot for benchmark records and stuff like that. Those are what are called suicide runs. You know, those overclocks are not remotely stable long term. They're designed to hit that big number, get the bragging rights, and then you back off, or the machine gets taken to bits because they're done making that video. And so a lot of people are sort of, they're dialing in these overclocks going, oh, we know that this is possible because so-and-so did it. And it's like, yeah, but so-and-so hasn't been running that overclock for 6 months. You know?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah, and certainly for a lot of it, I mean, it's a case there.
I'm just going to turn off my heater. I'll be right back. I'm still listening.
Good job. But yes, it's kind of, I feel like for me, with the fact that obviously for my new PC, I'm planning on having sub-zero cooling on it. It's a case that I could probably actually punch in an overclock that is actually potentially damaging and run that long term because there'll be sub-zero cooling on it. So it's a case of when you've actually got extreme cooling on it, when you've got sub-zeros and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a case that you can do it. But if you're remotely sensible, it's really quite difficult because there are so many protections. The only thing I can really see that would do something is if you had some sort of like liquid nitrogen mode or something, and you turn that on and went, yes, absolutely, let's dump 2 volts into the core.
Yeah. That's another thing as well, is just, I think, there's lots of hardware out there that has an LN2 mode now, and a lot of people don't realize that LN2 mode is literally gloves are off, all the safety features are off in LN. That's what LN2 mode is. LN2 mode is kamikaze mode. That is, you know, do not engage LN2 mode unless you are literally ready to destroy this piece of equipment. You know, that
certainly
literally
a case
kamikaze mode.
Yeah, don't run it if you're not running liquid nitrogen. It's very much a case of it's designed for liquid nitrogen, and those temperatures are fine with liquid nitrogen. And sorry, those voltages are fine with liquid nitrogen, things like that. So yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, or vapor phase. But yeah.
Well, no, it needs to be like minus 100.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Or more than minus 100, less than.
That's
negative
true.
Numbers are difficult to colloquially refer to.
Yes.
It needs to be more negative than 100. There we go.
It needs to be balls cold, not just cold, balls cold, you know.
Yes, exactly. So yes, absolutely. But I think it's also just interesting that Intel have released that cryo cooler, their tech cooler, as a kind of a packaged product. You can't buy it yet, but it looks like they're working in that direction. It's just like interesting, and this seems like a way more intelligent Peltier controller than we've ever seen before, which is nice, and it's interesting that Intel are kind of doing that. It's just kind of sad that it's not worked to actually win at anything.
I think it's a cool way to try and connect with the enthusiast scene again, because that's the thing, is that Intel do still have overclocking on their side. You know, I was watching the Gamers Nexus video on the super-tuned 5600X versus 10600K super-tuned today. The long and the short of it is the 5600X is still faster. And also one of the things...
stock. It was faster at stock than the overclock was.
Yes, correct. However, also, one of the other takeaways is that that even after doing a moderately decent overclock on the 5600X, their gains weren't really that much. They did get improvements, but we're talking like all of their improvements were sub 10%, which in my eyes isn't worth it. However, but on the other hand, the reason why I brought this up is the fact that, you know, the Intel, the i5, the 10600K, they got really good improvements by overclocking that. Now, again, the 5600X was faster at stock, so just you still buy that. But this is one of the things that means that Intel is still an interesting platform from an enthusiast point of view because of all of that tuning you can do. Sometimes people like to buy either slower hardware or like slower cars just because they're more fun to tinker with. Like if you wanted absolute performance, then just spend more money and get something faster. But some people want to buy something that is bad and slow with the intent of just overclocking the balls off of it. And I think it's
kind of where the AMD FX line kind of sits, in the sense of it's horrifically poor performing, but the overclocking and stuff you can do in it is great. It's got really tunable clocks and things like that. So it's kind of, from that perspective, it's great. And obviously the fact that because it performs like a dog, it's cheap. So you blow up something and you just kind of go, oh no, that was a £8 processor. So it's, it's that kind of, as well, the fact that it's less impactful on the pocketbook.
Yes. Cool. Yes. Right, catching on up a couple of things. We got a couple of super chats. Tony Hiltunen. Sorry again if I'm butchering foreign names. I'm awful. Whatever. Good. Sends €5. Good evening from Finland. Are you guys considering updating your systems to the latest Ryzen? I am not. I bought a 3800X on Amazon Day, and I'm quite satisfied with it. The Ryzen 5000s, they look awesome. However, due to price and scarcity, I'm more than satisfied with my I'm more than satisfied with my 3800X. So no, I am not planning on upgrading unless one happens to drop into my lap for whatever reason. By comparison, Caradog has got a 50... Oh, has he gone to get it? Have you gone to get your box?
This is where I'd have my 5950X if I had one.
Oh no, your order got cancelled, didn't it? Oh yeah, or you fell into the queue. Oh yeah, I was about to say he's got one, but he didn't. Oh, see, now I feel like I'm just dunking on you. I'm just like, Caradog ordered one, but he didn't get it. Oh,
Yes, basically. Oh well.
Caradog's going to get one. So yeah,
at some point when it turns up.
Yeah, and that rolls into Demin BS's $5 super chat. Thanks for the $5. Can't get the new AMD chips, but hey, got new RAM to test again. What I already got. So yeah, keep looking, guys. They're out there and they'll be back. I think the stock shortages will be freeing. I think they're starting to free up. I mean,
yes.
I looked at one really tasty computer today and yesterday, which unfortunately there won't be a video on it because the repair was a bust, basically. Or the video was a bust. The computer's just fine, but I had a computer in that came in yesterday evening and went out this afternoon. It was a Ryzen 5600X with an RTX 3070 Founders Edition in it. This absolute mad lad got both of the things that no one can get right now. And when he said what he had, I was like, "You're joking! You've got both. You've got a 3070 Founders Edition and a 5600X." And he's like, "Yeah, I got them both." And I'm like, and sadly for him, his it wasn't posting. However, it turned out to be a no fault found and some XMP issues, so it was boring. There was almost going to be a really cool video about it. However, it was boring. The video's getting thrown out, so whatever. But some people got them. I've got 3070s in the shop now. I've got two 3070s in my hand. Well, not right now, but they're over there. And I think the 3070s are about to become just generally available. Because they were in stock this week, and they were in stock for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. They were in stock in the morning, and the stocks lasted for a good few hours before they went out of stock again. And if you ask me, that is the signs of stuff becoming available.
Yes, certainly. And on that, heard from a source that Samsung has allocated more fab space to NVIDIA to meet NVIDIA's increased demand. So from that perspective, there's going to be more stuff there. And apparently the yields for the 8nm process were actually quite a bit lower than predicted. So that then impacted the number that they could get out. But apparently that issue with the sort of, with the manufacturing has been partially resolved, so the yields are going up. So yeah, so it's kind of a case of two factors on that. Apparently, the yield efficiency has increased quite a lot in the short period that they've been fabbing on it, and also that there's actually physically more fab space.
Yeah.
So we should see more stock of the 30 series, in general.
Yeah, I think that general availability in stock is going to be good moving forward, but I don't think we're going to see a price drop until after Christmas. That's my prediction. I'm not basing that on any insider knowledge. It's just at the moment, considering the fact that they still keep going out of stock, I don't think any of the resellers are, obviously the price is being fueled by a lack of supply right now. These cards are not supposed to be as expensive as they are. However, because they're scarce, prices go up. That's the way economics work. And so obviously, when they start coming into, so they're just generally always in stock, obviously the prices should start coming down a little bit there. However, right now, with demand still being high and them still going out of stock, even if it takes them 2 days to go out of stock, if you're a reseller and you know you're going to sell out of every one you get within 48 hours, you're not going to drop your price on those because you know they're going to shift at that price.
Absolutely. And it's a case that, certainly from Scan and someone else have made official statements saying that the increase in price isn't an increased profit margin by them, it's an increase in shipping cost. Because the stuff is being air freighted in, which is hella expensive.
Yeah,
so
because if they stick it on a boat, it'll be another month before it gets here, won't it?
Exactly. It'd be a case of you could get one delivery of stock a month if it was on a boat, or you can get 1 or 2 a week if it's by air, but you have to pay an extra $100 per card.
Oof,
and the consumers in general clearly prefer to pay the higher price but have the restocks.
Yeah, that explains quite a lot. That's quite interesting. That also certainly supports the fact that even if supply catches up, again, we're not going to see any price drops this year. So, because basically, during the week when I saw the 3070s in stock, I immediately was just like, credit card out, I'm buying some. I'll buy, I bought 2 and I said to my mate who also needed one, go here, this one is in stock, just buy it. That's the best you're going to manage. That's the best you're going to manage for the foreseeable future as far as anyone knows right now. It's in stock, just buy it. And within 24 hours, or rather later on that day when they were still in stock, I was like, did I just move too quickly? Have I just arrived right at the end of the race? However, given the fact that they've just immediately gone out of stock again, I'm like, no, actually, I think I'm fine. And I think even if it takes me until Christmas to sell both of these cards, I think I'm still going to get my money back on them and possibly some profit, So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a case that with that, the stock of the AMD processors as well. I think it was Scan was giving actual specific updates as to their stock, as to the stock that they were receiving in the volumes and on which days. And like on Friday, they received a total of 40 Ryzen 5600s, and that was it.
40, yeah, that's not going to go far, is it?
Yeah, and it was like they received 40 of them, and that was it for their restocking on Friday. So they are restocking and they are getting stuff, but it's just kind of a case of they're not expecting to get any deliveries of the 5950 or the 5900 anytime soon.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of
the one of the 3070s I have as I've put to one side for a build that I'm planning on doing. Well, I'm probably going to start doing that within a week now because I've got a graphics card for it. Again, we were waiting for Ryzen 5000s for that build, and I'm basically going to tell the client, look, I've got a graphics card for you. However, the new Ryzen 5000s, I think we should abandon ship on those, stick a 3800X in it, and just get on with it, I think. I think if he wants a 5700X or a 5800X, he's going to be waiting until after Christmas, and he wants this PC for Christmas. It's going to be a gift for the family, basically.
There is a possibility of a 5600X being available, just because they're the numbers that are arriving in greater quantities.
Yeah.
I suppose purely.
Do you know how the 5600X compares versus say a 3800X?
It's faster in all regards.
Oof. Yeah.
Basically.
So that might actually be worth going for then, despite the lower number.
Yeah, but certainly for anything that a standard home user is going to do.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a decent gaming PC, you know.
Yeah. It's fun. The 5600X is faster than all previous AMD processors are for gaming. Full stop, end of story. So it's kind of a case of, if you see one available somewhere, then yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Grab it.
I shall try it in that case, and I'll try my luck with it.
But obviously, if you can get like a 3600X or a 3600XT on really low pricing, then maybe.
Yeah.
But
yeah, seeing lots of people in the chat just pointing out 5600X will smoke a 3700X and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and it will, and because like the 5600X is similar to or slightly faster than a 10900K.
Yeah. That's a big boast, yeah. I shall have a look at it.
So yes, absolutely.
Fair enough. I'm going to quickly blitz through some stuff in chat because I've kind of been neglecting chat this stream. So sorry, chat, if I'm neglecting you. It's just we tend to waffle, but that's kind of what we're here for, really. Let me see. So there was a quick one. Have you seen decreased trade because of the COVIDs? A little bit because we're in lockdown, but nothing that concerns me. I'm in a fairly bulletproof trade. People's computers are still breaking. People still need their computers fixed. So I'm not short of work. I'm not worried, is the short answer there. Just obviously, just got to be a little bit more careful. Everything's got to be wiped down, going in and out, all the rest of it. How much are you selling the 3070 for? I'm in the market for one. I am not planning on selling it yet. I'm sitting on it. I'm probably going to... I'm not sure what I'm doing with the spare card I have yet. I'm not keeping it. I can't afford to keep it. Well, I could, but I shouldn't. I bought new monitors. That was my treat for the rest of the year. I'm not keeping it. I'm trying to convince myself that. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, but I'm not just going to flog it on straight away. So yeah, keep an eye out on the suppliers. I think give it another week or so and they may appear again. You just got to keep checking.
I think the 3000 series, the Nvidia stuff is going to be slightly better.
Yeah. I think
that supply is improving.
I think within a week or two, I think you'll be able to sort of probably get one whenever you want. You might not get your first choice of card, but you'll be able to get something that's decent. You know, the ones I've got the Gigabyte 3070 Eagle ones, so they're not the factory overclocked ones, but you know, it's a Gigabyte one. It's a standard card. It's got the triple fan cooler on it. It's a very inoffensive card. It's fit for purpose, basically.
It's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing special, but
yeah. Firephone asked, how much was the Retina panel on the latest video? Latest video I did, I showed how to change out the display assembly on a MacBook Pro Thunderbolt 3. That panel I paid, cost on it was £285, and that was an eBay job. So yeah, I think that was a reasonable price for that. Panels are really expensive for a lot of laptops right now, especially the older Retinas. The older Retinas, so like the 2013 to 2015 ones, the prices for screens on those are horrendous right now. Like if you've got a 13-inch 2015 Retina, it's cheaper, or it's about the same price to buy a second-hand MacBook Pro of the same make and model. You can just buy a replacement laptop for the cost that for the cost of repair, and then you have two laptops, and you can sit on the broken one, and then probably within a year, you know, at some point next year when the prices sort themselves out, you'll be able to fix it at half the price that it will currently cost to fix right now. So yeah,
presuming that anyone can get the display assemblies.
Maybe. I think at the moment a lot of people are not manufacturing or shipping stuff unless they have a good reason to. Like one of the most interesting things I've noticed about this year is when you look online. Like now and then, I browse Amazon and Banggood and eBay for what I would refer to as Chinese tat. So like I'm looking for like I want a new work mat for the shop bench, because the work mat I've got at the moment that's got the blue dragon thing on it, I want to replace that because it's full of burn marks and all the rest of it. However, when you look on eBay and other places like that, you can find some big cheap mouse mats. But when I bought that one, there were pages and pages of massive mouse mat designs, like 900mm by 400mm, so huge mouse mats with hundreds of designs, and they were all like £12, so you like $15 kind of thing delivered. And now when you look, there's like 3 or 4 designs, none of which I actually like. And when you look at like cheap soldering kits, so like the soldering kits that I used to do every now and then, when you look around there's hardly anything about, and it's just the same like 5 kits wherever you look. And like basically just people aren't selling cheap tat right now because it's not economical, or the delivery on it is too high or something like that. And this is what we're seeing, is there's lots of places at the moment where a lot of choice is extremely limited at the moment because China's not shipping stuff that the fire hose is turned off at the moment, because everyone is only shipping stuff that is in high demand or high value, or that kind, high quality commodities kind of thing. So yeah.
There's certainly been. I don't know what the current numbers look like, but the global logistics, I think, by air freight, it was a case of air freight capacity dropped by something like 40%, and it was just like, even on that front, if even just air freight is down by 40%, it's that's a bit mad, because all of the passenger flights stopped, and there was actually a surprisingly large amount of freight on passenger flights, which I never realized.
Yeah.
So that's affected it, and even some of the airlines swapping over to flying cargo only flights hasn't actually increased the capacity, sort of back up to the amount where it was. So yeah, and according to this was several months ago, but according to what I've seen, it was a case of actually for some of the delays in shipping have been actually at like the docks and the ports. They haven't been able to have enough staff who have had all of the testing and so on to prove that they are clean. Clear, that's a better phrasing. From the COVIDs.
Yeah.
To work there, so they aren't actually able to get it on the boats fast enough, and they aren't able to get it packaged fast enough and things like that. It's not specifically just the actual.
That's more or less how it's been.
Stuff, but yeah,
it's more or less how it's been since from summer, isn't it? It's the same as with the big power supply shortages. What they said about those, there was no problem with manufacturing power supplies because, like, broadly speaking, where China was the first country to lock down with COVID-19, they were also the first country getting back to work. And the factories ramped up really quickly because, of course, they would. It's their lifeblood.
Yeah.
However, they obviously had just crates and pallets upon pallets upon pallets of goods sitting in the docks, not going anywhere. And that seems to have been one of the bigger enemy in this, rather than production. So yeah,
certainly by now, the production hasn't been an issue now, at least as far as I'm aware. For a while, it has been a case of the manpower part, the moving it onto planes, moving it onto boats.
Okay,
and obviously just the continuous demand being at such high levels for so long.
Yeah, I think just not abating.
I think we're going to see more fabs actually opening up from this. I think we're actually going to see someone else come into the market and go, I'm going to make 28 nanometer parts. I'm going to make 45 nanometer parts. The stuff is nowhere near cutting edge, but is cheap to set up and start running on.
Yeah.
But being able to go, I can deliver this part in a week. I can deliver this part in, a month, end to end, done, as opposed to, if you go to TSMC and say, oh, I need you to make an IHC that's on, say 32 nanometer, they'll go, that'll be 6 months.
Yeah.
That'll be 8 months. There's no profit margin in it for us. We're not going to bump off, a 7 nanometer AMD part for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to bump off a 5 nanometer Apple part for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that'd be interesting because the problem is that's thinking long term. And yeah, obviously, the best time to plant an apple tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah.
So it's a case of like a lot of these people are probably thinking, man, if I could have set up a fab 10 months, either 12 months ago or even just back in like February or March and had that up and running for Christmas, I'd be laughing right now. However, it does beg the question how long this demand will stay up, how many people are going to continue to work from home after the pandemic is over. Who knows?
I think we're going to see a huge increase in that, certainly in the UK at least, because it's forced a lot of companies to go, actually, it's possible.
Yeah.
Actually, it's feasible. Because the industry I'm in, we've lots of the competitors and colleagues in London have said that this was August, that they were not reviewing their work from home policy until Easter 2021. This was in August, before we even had a hint of a second lockdown. So the fact that we've got a second lockdown now, it might be a case of they might just go, actually, we're permanently doing it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't remember who it was. I think it was Handelsbanken said that they are closing one entire office in London.
Oh, really?
Because they just don't need it. They're just closing one entire floor of their office because they just don't need it. Everyone who worked there is now going to work from home. And for face-to-face meetings, they're just going to use a meeting room on one of the other floors.
Yeah.
It's just like...
If it's working for them, then why not? And I don't think it's a bad thing either. If it's working and people are productive at home, it's reducing overheads. And, if people are productive at home, they're probably happier that way. And yeah, it's not for everyone. There's always going to be people that say sort of, oh, this doesn't work for us, or there's going to be companies that say, no, our staff are less productive working from home because there's too many distractions. And there's going to be people as well who say, no, I would rather work in an office because I want the disconnect between work and home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation to have there, but certainly there's going to be a large number of people for which working from home is just better, and they'll continue to do so.
Absolutely. And also just think of the man hours that are saved. Like the number of people who commute by train into London and spend 2-3 hours on a train one way.
Oh yeah, that blows my mind.
2-3 hours a day the other way, so maybe 4 to 6 hours a day magically given back to you.
I had a job years ago before I moved to Dorset. I was working at a private school in Andover, and I had a 45-minute commute for that. It was about 40 miles, and that's the thing. I considered it to be a really long commute just because of the mileage I was covering, because I had to smash down the M3 every day. However, and I found that commute really took its toll on me a lot. However, but then I would speak to family members, and family members would say, "Oh yeah, I've got to drive into the middle of Reading every day. It takes me an hour to get into the middle of Reading, and it's 5 miles." And that's just an hour of just sitting in traffic every morning. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, "This is nuts. Why are we doing this?" So yeah,
it's. I mean, to me, as someone who hasn't had to consider such things for a big business, I don't understand why their offices are in the middle of cities. I've never understood why they're in the middle of cities or why they're in the middle of industrial parks with a single entrance.
Yeah.
I also never understood why industrial parks are built with a single entrance and exit. I've never understood that. And it genuinely annoys me. Something that is specifically built as an industrial park. They're like, yes, let's make a single exit and let's make it almost always join like a 2 or 3 lane major road so you can never turn on and off quickly. It's like...
Noel Dowd says the stats say that people working from home are working longer hours than they do at the office as well, which I could believe.
They're probably working longer hours, actually doing stuff, but actually spending less time not doing non-work stuff because of the commute and things like that. And also, I would imagine kind of the balance.
I wonder if the fact of because when you make people work from home, obviously you need to make sure that they have a method of tracking what they're doing and their productivity. Because while they're in an office, you can see if someone is idle and be like, you're not doing anything, I need you to do this. Or they can say, I've got nothing to do, give me more work to do. Whereas when they're at home, you can't do that. So I would also assume that there are more offices now that are providing better ways of tracking workflow and amount of work done. And that is probably improving people's productivity as well, just better organisation, perhaps. I'm guessing it, but...
I'm hoping there's better organisation. Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Yeah, yeah. There seems to be large inefficiencies in some places where people are just like, let's not actually fit. Sorry, it's just a case of there seem to be large institutional inefficiencies with kind of the concept of working from home, which we've kind of run into from a couple of other companies, and it's just like, okay, and things like call centers. You would imagine that a call center would be one of the easiest offices to shift to a working from home setup.
Yeah,
you post them a SIP phone, and go, ta-da! You're working now.
Yeah. Because I take it you've had issues with that.
Most of the call center contact type stuff that I've dealt with, they're just shut. The staff apparently aren't working.
Yeah,
they're just shut.
That's bizarre. Who knows? That's weird. Well, let's move it on. I've had one line of chat highlighted for about half an hour now that I want to get on because I think it sounds super interesting. Noel Dowds asked a while back, what are your thoughts on the new Apple M1 chip? And so, firstly, I have not done any research into this. I haven't read any articles on it. However, I did see a snippet posted the other day in the Discord. Someone posted a picture of saying, oh, here's Apple's new M1 chip. And they posted how Apple have been posting this graph showing their new M1 chip having really high performance at low power consumption versus an older Intel Atom. And everyone was going, ha 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 ha, they're slower than an Atom, which is pretty freaking slow. However, my response to that was immediately like, if Apple are trying to show off the performance of their M1 chip using tangible, quantifiable numbers like this, they're already doing it wrong. Apple's brand new silicon is not going to be good. Anyone who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves. It's a brand new silicon. And it's not going to be good. However, what it will have, it will be crammed up to the eyeballs with hardware acceleration. It will be crammed up to the eyeballs in hardware acceleration. And this is the thing, like
for the DRM,
that Intel Atom that they're comparing it to probably has, absolutely zero video rendering and decompression stuff on it, or it's got archaic video decompression on it. It's probably got terrible hardware acceleration for cryptography. It probably has terrible acceleration for network management and power management and so on and so forth. Whereas the Apple M1 chip, it's not going to be really fast in just pure CPU horsepower, but what it's going to do is have a dedicated spot on the chip for all the common tasks that you'd want to do on a laptop. So it will feel really quick, despite the fact that it's just standard CPU performance will be really bad. Because this is the secret with an Apple computer as it already stands, is that most Apple computers, like if you take the Mac Pro, by modern standards, they're not the fastest computers at all. However, what they do have is really good hardware acceleration, which makes them seem faster. Or rather, it makes them faster at specific tasks. So that's my thoughts on the Apple M1 chip, is that it seems really bad now, but I think it's actually going to do rather well just purely because it'll have a crap ton of hardware acceleration in it.
I don't know. From the very little that's been put out, it's a case of there seems to have been a great deal of obfuscation on their performance metrics and so on.
Because the performance metrics are bad. And the fact that they're trying to show performance metrics, I'm just like, why are you doing this, Apple? You're missing the point. This is not the strength of this. It's always frustrated me when Apple do any kind of performance numbers, because Apple are notorious for showing graphs on presentations going, look how much faster our thing is. Our thing is 2x faster than the nearest competitor, with no actual hard numbers there. They've always done this, and people have always been like, this is a useless comparison. Stop doing this. What you need to show is you need to stick that M1 chip in a laptop and show that it can export a Final Cut movie in the same amount of time as a standard laptop reasonably, and then go, look, despite the fact that this is first generation silicon, it is still giving a decent time to export your movie. That is useful. That is a good metric, and the chances are it's actually got rather good performance on that front.
I think the other issue is obviously the fact of 90% of their software library doesn't work now.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's going
to be an issue for 6 months.
For 6 months, I think that's going to resolve pretty darn quick, considering the magnitude of the problem. Like, if this was like for any other company, this would be suicide. This was suicide when Microsoft tried to do it with Windows RT. How well did that go, Microsoft? You see anyone running around with a Windows 8 laptop, Windows 8 tablet running Windows RT? You don't, because there were no apps for it. However, Apple have done this once before when they switched to from PowerPC to Intel, and considering the magnitude of what they were doing, it was pretty good. I mean, there's always various people with horror stories, but again, when you look at what they're trying to do, that completely change an architecture on a mainstream platform, that's an enormous undertaking, and it was reasonably smooth. And in fact, I would almost wager that this is the third time they've done it, because not so much that, but when they switched from macOS 9 to macOS 10, there was a hard cutoff for compatibility. There was no backwards compatibility. If you wanted to run a System 9 app, you had to run it in a VM. And again, all things considered, that was a pretty smooth transition, considering the absolute 1,000-degree knife slice that they did there. So, and then they did it again for the switch from PowerPC to Intel. Now they're doing it from Intel to ARM. And as I say, 6 months, it'll probably take 6 months for it to sort itself out. But 6 months to completely change architecture, that's pretty good going, if you ask me.
Yeah. The other issue I've got is the fact that they've made it even harder for you to run your own programs on there.
Yeah.
They have increased the complexity and difficulty in just installing a program from wherever you want to install it from.
Yeah,
I think
this will be really bad news for indie programs on Macs. However, when I used to daily drive a Mac, I didn't use that many indie programs personally, and I'm coming from Apple's perspective here, and I agree that it's terrible that there will be less choice and you won't be able to run all the things you want to. However, when you look at what Apple are trying to do, if you look at like the iPad Pro, that to me seems like what Apple want to be doing right now. That's what they want. They want a mobile device that's in a walled garden, where it's running a mobile operating. Because lots of people are going, the iPad Pro is basically a laptop now. And I'm just like, well, yeah, sure, you can do everything on an iPad Pro that you'd want to do on a laptop. Therefore, it is a laptop. However, again, indie apps are going to be a nightmare. But Apple don't care about that. All Apple care about you running are either their own applications or some big partner applications. And the big partners, like Adobe and stuff like that, they'll switch over and they'll have something sorted out. They'll probably have something out in time for launch. Like from Apple's perspective, they're like, we don't really care about that because we don't make any money on the indie developers anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They want you to buy everything through the App Store.
Yeah, so I think
they can take their 30%.
Yeah, so I think this kind of sucks for the indie developers. But the other part of me is just like, I feel like if you're the little guy, Apple has been dead for a long time anyway, because it's exactly the same with repair and stuff like that. If you have any kind of interest in open source, in repairability, in freedom of the device, Apple has been enemy number one for years now. So when we look at a move that is going to kill off independent is going to significantly harm independent software on the Mac, I'm just like, that's been a long time coming. If you didn't see that coming, mate, then you've had your eyes closed. And that doesn't make it any less of a tragedy. However, I can't help but think that this should be, this should be a surprise to no one. And that is literally the reason why I don't run an Apple anymore. Because the writing has been on the wall for a long time now. And I saw that writing on the wall a long time ago and was just like, I'm switching back to Windows because for all of its flaws, it's still a Wild West platform as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yes, it's kind of, again, from that repairability kind of thing as well. It's just the fact of, I find that very annoying that on one side they are actively campaigning against reducing e-waste. They are actively stopping people from being able to reduce e-waste. Yet on the flip side, they're going, we're removing chargers from phone boxes because e-waste.
Yeah, that's a really transparent and that's a really two-faced place they're in on that front. Yeah. With their environmental concern, it's like, get out of here. That it's just like no, and that is what makes me annoyed. Is obviously I talk to the general public every day, and the general public, they don't see this. The general public, they fall for this hook, line, and sinker. Like anyone who's paying remote amounts of attention can see just the blatant hypocrisy of Apple. However, the general public just don't. And every day I have people coming into my shop going sort of, oh, well, I need an Apple. They're so expensive, but I need one. And I'm like, but you don't. You don't need to buy the really expensive Apple. There are plenty of other products that are half the price and will fulfill your requirements just fine. And
absolutely.
Again, I'm not, I'm a fanboy for no one. Apple products are really nice. When you look at an Apple laptop, you're like, this is a really nice laptop kind of thing. I've got no beef with that. And like when someone says, oh yeah, I've got an iPhone, I'm like, that's fine. You'll have no problems with it kind of thing. And, I still say, like when someone says I want to buy a tablet, I'm just like, buy an iPad. Buy the base level iPad. Don't get the iPad Air or the iPad Pro. I don't think those are worth the money. Just get the bog standard iPad for 340 quid. Yeah. You'll be fine. And so, as I say, I'm a fanboy for no one. I'm not anti-Apple. I'm not pro-Apple. However, I think Apple as a company, Apple are in a really horrendous place right now, and the general public are not seeing it. They can't see it at all. They cannot see the woods for the trees.
Clearly, they aren't in a horrific place, obviously, financially,
no,
on their financial reports and so on. But
ethically,
morally, exactly. It's kind of the case from that perspective, and it's like it's similar to me. I was looking at a review of a Razer laptop I think this morning, yesterday, can't remember. And it was kind of a case where I was just like, basically, I can level almost the same complaints that I've been leveling at Apple's laptops from a point of view of repair and price to Razer's products. And then, and to a sense, to that. And it was just like, oh, it clearly works as a business model, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the fact of it clearly works as a business model because other companies are adopting it and other companies are moving towards it.
Yeah. And that's true. It's
so
like,
it's
I look at the MacBook Air, I look at the price of the MacBook Air, and I'm just like, they want how much for this laptop? But then the problem is, the irony is, if you look at the MacBook Air as a thin and light laptop, because that's what it is, it's a thin and light. Because, you know, it's very easy to say, oh, I can buy a Dell laptop that's faster than that with a bigger battery and more connectivity. It's like, yeah, but it's not a thin and light. If your objective is a small laptop that is thin, doesn't weigh anything, so you can have that in a satchel on your back and walk around London all day long with it, you need a thin and light. And when you look at Dell's equivalents, they're about the same price, and the speakers in them aren't as good, you know. So, and that actually is the bigger issue here, is that if you actually match category to category, everyone else is in the same boat there. And again, you know, that Intel thin and light, I've known probably one of the XPSs or something like that. Again, the repairability on that is going to be wank as well. It's why, again, I just find myself, I feel like an old man saying it, but it's like with cars. I would much rather have the older 90s car, which is, you know, it's a bit of a chunky boy. And like my laptop, I've got a Dell. This is a Dell Latitude here. You know, it's a bit of a brick compared to a thin and light, but you know, this thing is a tank, and I would rather have that for a fraction of the price. But again, I do also have customers who come into my shop and they say, "Oh, I'm looking for a laptop," and I'm like, and they say, "Oh, I want it to be a small laptop." And I'm like, "Okay, well, look, here's my laptop. This is a Latitude. It's 14 inches, which is on the smaller side." And they're like, "Oh, that's much too heavy." And I'm like, "Honey, this ain't a heavy laptop. You know, here's a gaming laptop. That's a heavy laptop, you know." And people want impossibly thin and light, so they're going to keep buying MacBook Airs. And they're going to keep buying this stuff.
Basically.
Yeah. So
it's I think this year is a bad year for discussing pricing on laptops anyway, just because of obviously the number of people who've been buying them. But it does seem to be that there is such trash value in the like 800 to like £1,400 region.
Yeah.
Just seems to be such trash value.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. It's like, I want to buy something that actually has dedicated graphics that isn't crap. You're now looking at £1,500.
Yeah. The only laptops I'm seeing that I don't hate right now are the Asus TUF laptops. Those look really good value for money. You can get them with, you know, with modest graphics cards in them, you know, with 1060s and 1660s and stuff like that, and decent modern CPUs, and you know, often with 140 hertz display and stuff. And they're about, you know, £700 or £800, and that is, I think those are actually good value for money at the moment. But like when I see someone post one of those, I'm just like, oh yeah, that, you know, looking at the spec and looking at the price, that seems pretty reasonable to me. I think that seems like a good buy. However, a lot of other stuff, I'm just looking at all these laptops, and there are some really nice laptops out there, but just none of them, I don't care about any of them. I look at them and I'm just like, just. You know, you look at it and they say sort of, oh, it's only $1,100 and you're just like, okay, sure. And I just feel defeated. I feel defeated about it all. Like the custom built desktop scene right now is really exciting. Sure, we can't buy any of it, but at least it's exciting. But laptops are just so not exciting right now. I don't like any of them.
I think partially as well, to a degree, obviously it's been made worse by what's happening everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't blame the manufacturers. You're right, it is a bad year.
And I feel like for what 99% of people do on a laptop, it's kind of a case of they would still be better served by decent quality like Chromebooks and stuff. Just because for like £300, you can get a decent laptop with a 1080p screen in it that's IPS and doesn't run like a dog. And I'm like, it does all of your Google services. And what do people use a laptop for? YouTube, Facebook. They're Google services and Facebook services. That's it.
I think the enemy of the Chromebook is the cheap Chromebook, because and I think a lot of people go, "Oh, I had a Chromebook, it was bollocks." I think a lot of them had a cheap Chromebook, and I think if people actually, and that I think for a while there was a bit of an issue where with Chromebooks you had the £200 Chromebook and the £1,000 Pixel book, and nothing in between. So it was like, you know, no one wants to pay £1,000 for a Chromebook. Are you having a laugh? Are you having a giraffe son? Are you having a womble? However, the £200 Chromebook is a pile of garbage that breaks. I know, I see them in the shop all the time, and I pick them up and I'm like, but credit where they're due. The hardware might be garbage, but you open the screen and it's on and ready to go in 5 seconds. You know, whenever they come in with broken screens, which is frequently because a lot of kids have got Chromebooks and kids destroy laptops. You know, I put a new screen in it, I press the power button, and it goes Chromebook, wheel, login screen, and I go guest account. There's a browser, and I go google.co.uk, and it loads, and I'm just like, credit where it's due. It's not slow.
We bought 5 Lenovo S420s, I think they are, S440s, something like that, the Chromebooks for the office. And they're all great. They're fantastic. The only issue I have with them is there isn't a 17-inch equivalent. And if there isn't like
laptops are dead. I know you like 17-inch laptops.
But there isn't like a 15 or 16 or 17-inch equivalent. There's only like a 14-inch version. And I'm just like, that's fine, but it's crap for hammering out long letters on. Because the keyboard is fractionally too small. The screen is fractionally too small. Stuff like that. And it's like, there's no like actually true 16-inch one.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it's just like,
fair enough.
Yeah, carry
on.
Go.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I'd like one.
Super chat from Flappity. Thanks for the £10. I nearly said $10 there, but this is 10 proper sterling pounds. Work for a company rolling out iPhone SEs to our staff from our provider prior to the 12 launch. Now on hold because Apple recalled all the new SEs. Our provider had to remove the accessories. There's a recall on the iPhone SE.
To remove the accessories, yes.
Oh, to remove the accessories.
Because you can't sell them with the accessory kits anymore.
Could you elaborate on that? I don't... Like, are you not allowed
e-waste.
Oh, really? So they recalled the phone so they could, to take all the chargers out of the boxes?
But only on the B2B ones, not the B2C ones.
Okay, yeah. What? Sure.
Yeah.
But why would you recall that, though? Like, certainly, have a cut-off and just say, okay, as of this date, we've stopped doing this. But for all the ones that have already gone out, they're out the door now. That's too late.
Yeah, so they are recalling them to basically just go, no, you can't have this stuff anymore.
Oh yeah, because you've got an SE, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're recalling it to remove that. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Why would you do a recall for that?
So they are recalling them.
Yeah. I mean,
which costs the money
you've just
to
said
remove
it's not
stuff.
About e-waste. Yeah.
And it's like, it's literally about so they can then take that charger that comes in the box, put some shrink wrap around it, and then sell it back to you for like £25.
Yeah.
And it will be a 5-watt charger.
How much carbon do you think is produced by recalling those products, having them all shipped back, taking them out, putting all the accessories in bags, sending it all back out again? Get stuffed, Apple. Just seriously, virtue signaling. That's what I've been looking for. When I said Apple are in a bad place and stuff, virtue signaling. Stop with the virtue signaling. If you're actually making an effort to reduce e-waste and stuff like that, that's great. But everything that you're doing publicly facing is just virtue signaling and isn't helping with the problem. That's the issue. I get it. you can't fix systemic issues overnight, and we've got to move. We have to progress in small steps at a time. However, what Apple are doing doesn't feel like it's remotely useful. It's just virtue signaling. Anger.
But yeah,
disingenuous.
It's like I think the thing that you're saying about, actually improving things and actually changing things is to praise Gamers Nexus yet again. Their toolkit, they specifically redesigned their entire toolkit so they could get rid of single-use plastic bags.
Yeah, I saw that. That was rad.
And it cost them more money.
Yeah. I think
But they did it because it reduces plastic bags.
I remember watching the video where he was going over that, saying, yes, we've got this to reduce the amount of single plastic bags in there. And I think that's great as well, because that's something that annoys me when I'm, when I'm building a computer and you're unboxing all the parts, and just the amount of just individual, the amount of, have I got an example here? Just the amount of this, just little packets of screws, and these are packets at least, but there'll be I'll have packets around here that show up like this. Here's a packet with a single tiny screw in it for an M.2 slot.
Yeah, that's the one I don't get.
Yep, that's a plastic bag in there with one screw in it for the M. Just put it on the goddamn board.
Yeah,
just put it on the board. Don't tell me that is more labor either, because someone there has to sit in a factory picking up plastic bags, putting a screw in it, and putting it in the tray.
Yeah.
Why? Just put it on the board. Just stop with all the.
Yeah. I think it's also the other thing is RAM modules. Have you ever just the size of the box a RAM module comes in, and it's I'm just kind of
yeah.
And the fact
I don't think that's the worst.
I'm looking at the ones I've got. Yeah. There is a plastic wrap on the actual product. It's then put inside a plastic clip case. That plastic clip case is then put inside a cardboard box. That cardboard box is then layered in plastic to then print on top of.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm gonna go and get some examples. I'm still listening.
It's just crazy.
I think people can still hear me as I walk around the room. Should we put this to the test?
Just about. Yeah, absolutely. But it's just a case of just the amount of packing for stuff as well is mad.
And I think a lot of that is still the retail thing about shelf space. If I make my box bigger, it takes up more space on the shelf. And I think that's driven by the fact that big box shops are still a thing in the US. And a lot of people say, oh, I want a micro center in the UK, and I think that would be pretty awesome. I see all the adverts for micro center on YouTube, and I'm like, that looks awesome. However, also, I bet micro center is one of those very places that is still fueling the fact of manufacturers wanting their box to be bigger. But I've got a couple of graphics card boxes here. Here's a 1660 Super box. It's mirrored because I've got my camera mirrored, so I'm looking at Caradog, by the way. But yeah, 1660 Super box here, and it's I need a graphics card. I need a banana. Hang on, I'm going to go and get a banana for scale. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this. Oh no, I've only got really big graphics cards or really small graphics cards. Whatever.
Good job, well done.
So, 1660 Super box. Here is a large GTX 980. So, as you can see, this box is actually very sensibly sized. That box is as big as it needs to be, no more, no less. That box is the size of a graphics card with some foam around it. Good box. I like this box. Now, here is the 3070 Super boxes that showed up. It doesn't need to be that big. You could easily fit this card in a box that is slightly bigger than that. Come on. I'd go in there.
But it's also, you go to the complete extreme other end and you get, Best Buy shipping EVGA 30 series just in a paper bag.
In a paper bag? I didn't hear about that. Tell me more.
Yeah. Not a paper bag, just an envelope. They were just shipping them just in an envelope, no box, nothing, literally just the envelope, basically.
Oh, I don't like that at all. That's a bit extreme.
So a lot of them turned up dead.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Remember my story about the Cougar power supply that I bought that had someone punched a fist hole in the side of it, you know? Yeah, you need some packaging. You need the size of your product and an inch of foam around it. That's all you need. Don't put any bits of paper in the box. Don't put any plastic bags in the box. Just literally your product, an inch of foam around it, cardboard box. That's all we need. That's all we care about. And everything else is just padding and more waste. And like, if you can make that foam packaging, if you can make that foam out of some kind of magical cardboard that's also recyclable, that'd be great as well.
No DVDs, no CDs. Don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah. Don't bother putting... Yeah. I mean, I suppose there is an argument to be made that there are some people out there that are just like, oh, I don't have an internet connection. I can't download the drivers. And I'm like...
Then how are you going to get any media to use with the graphics card you have purchased?
Yeah, I have doubts.
There is literally no way you could use the graphics card for anything that's remotely modern. Because disc sales of PC games are just a download code. You literally buy a box that's a DVD box, and all that's in there is a code that you then have to plug into a launcher to download the game.
Yeah, and like we can have a conversation about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
However, it's a terrible thing. It's dumb.
However, that's where we are right now. So, yeah. I'm going to jump in with a super chat quickly. AJ sends £2. Thank you very much for the £2, AJ. RTX 2080 Super for 4K 60 FPS. What's MFS 2020? Oh, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
No, the answer to that is no.
Yeah, I would be saying no on that. 30, you get 30 frames a second at 4K. Do you reckon?
Yes. You can't do like ultra and stuff, but then again, the 3090 can't do ultra because it's not designed to.
Yeah.
Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is designed to be the Crisis of 2020.
Yeah.
It's designed to have all of the very latest methods and ways of doing it in there, so you will not run it on ultra. You'll run it on high, you'll run it on very high.
We're not going to see anyone max Flight Simulator 2020 for quite a long time. That product is designed to have a 10-year life cycle on it. It's Microsoft's intent that we will be struggling to get ultra settings on that in the year 2030 when the next one comes out.
Basically, you're not. You're just not going to be maxing it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you'll get half decent performance. I would probably try and go for a decent 1440p. Rather than 4K, unless you're stuck in the unfortunate situation that I think Caradog is in, where your monitor does a really poor 1440p. Was that you who said that?
No, I've got no issues with 1440p.
Oh, okay. I'm sure.
My only issue is the fact that
I
can't do 4K 120 because I don't have HDMI 2.1.
Oh, yes, that's fine. I saw somewhere that there was something recently where it was a matter of you're better off trying to do a bad 4K than a good 1440p. I can't remember where I saw that though. It might have been one of the new consoles. I think the
PlayStation 5 doesn't do 1440p.
Oh, that was it. That's what I was thinking of. Ignore me. I'm waffling. Yeah, PS5 doesn't like 1440p, which I think is possibly a bit of a bummer. But yeah.
But then there aren't any 1440p TVs, so it's kind of...
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Christopher Hall. Christopher Hall has got Flight Sim all ultra in 4K on a 2080 Ti, 30 to 40 frames a second. So there's a good basis of comparison there. So you're going to be looking for 30 frames a second. However, if you dropped down, you could probably look for 40, and 40 is tolerable. But considering it's Flight Simulator, and unless I'm assuming that most of the time in flight simulators, you're not exactly skimming along the ground at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So.
Absolutely. It's a case that it depends on exactly what bit is limiting at what times. Like if you've got the the two-layer cloud lighting thing, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically where the cloud layer, the higher cloud layer, can cast shadows on the lower cloud layer, that will basically melt anything.
Bloody hell, that's melting my brain just trying to think about it.
So stuff like that. But then at other times, like flying through cities at night, you'll then hit CPU limitations because of the number of light sources and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's different places will lock up at different places.
Interesting. So depending on what hardware you've got available, you may want to favor certain scenarios when you're playing the game.
Kind of, to a degree, but obviously it's a simulator, so hitting 30 FPS instead of 60 is far less of a concern.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like you're aiming for 240 FPS for snapshot headshots.
This isn't Quake 3. So
exactly.
Let me see. Oh, I saw something and then I took my eyes off. I swear, the problem with the chat is I've got to keep my eyes locked on when I see someone say something interesting. I need to be like, okay, don't look anywhere else. Highlight that, otherwise you'll never find it again. So Noel Downs again. Have you seen the PS5 and Xbox problems? PS5 was storage error and bricked, and the Xbox with bad disk drives. I have not heard of these issues. I heard that the only I hadn't heard of any actual major issues. Have they been widespread? Does anyone know?
I've not heard anything at all.
No, I hadn't heard of this.
Certainly not from anywhere I'd call remotely reputable.
Yeah, the only issue I'd heard was just like the Xbox smoking issues. But I just want to say I called
all
that.
All of them are fake.
Yeah, I called it. The moment I saw that, moment I saw the one with the vapor clouds, I was just like, bullshit. That is not the magic smoke. That is not electronic magic smoke. Nothing. No electronic device makes smoke that looks like that. There was like the very first one that had faint wisps. I was like, that might be an issue. However, all the rest of them that were just vape smoke, I was like, no bullshit. That's vape smoke.
So, but also at the same time, you expect one to fail.
Yeah.
And out of a million devices, you expect one of them to fail.
I think it's entirely possible that the first one actually was a genuine failure.
And it's a case of it's really shitty and it sucks that 1 or 2 or 3 will fail on day one.
Yeah.
But that happens. I mean, people kind of forget the fact that, back in the late 90s, we had launches where there was like 25% device failure and things like that.
Yeah, remember, was it the 360 with the Ring of Death due to the bad power brick? I think it was the 360.
I thought that was a BGA infill issue.
Well, there was 2 of them. There was 2 issues. There was a BGA infill issue that was Red Ring of Death, but there were also a complete swath of early 360s that had bad power bricks as well.
That was an America-only problem, as far as I'm aware.
Someone might
for
be
the
able to
power
correct
bricks.
us.
As far as I'm aware, it was an America-only problem on the power bricks, and there was apparently it was some sort of ground leak or something like that. The power supply ended up causing some sort of ground leak or something like that. This is only going on because I remember watching a video of someone disassembling the replacement power supply that they shipped out and comparing it to the very original power supply.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they were saying about there was a lot more sort of ground inductance filtering or something. But again, this is memory from a video that I probably watched like 5 years ago and probably watched it like 6 times speed.
Yeah. Noel's back. PS5 was some kind of memory management issue, and the Xbox was disk drives not taking disks. Oh, I say it's the Blu-ray drive, or I'll call it the optical drive. So yeah, optical drive not taking disks. That sounds interesting, but also I don't know why anyone's buying discs anyway. But yeah, sure, it should work, of course. And yeah, memory management issue. That memory management issue would be interesting, just because obviously the PS5 has got a very, very interesting memory setup, memory platform, let's call it, because of the way that works. So yeah,
I find it slightly shocking that, as far as I'm aware, the 1 terabyte PlayStation 5 only has something like 625 gigabytes available to the user, and I'm just so in other words, you can have 5 games installed.
Yeah, I mean, assuming they're all AAA games and stuff like that. I mean, there are lots of games that do not take up an obnoxious amount of space. There's just some big mainstream ones that do. But I tell you, I think it's bovine excrement that. Actually, before I get into this rant, I'm just going to pause a sec for a super chat because it's a Dana. Oh no, Dana Ripule. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Dana. Here is 50 quid for a Shaftesbury pensioner in need of a computer repair. Thank you very much. From Repool, the Anglophile in Nebraska.
The pronunciation is Repool.
Repool. Okay.
That's the second part of the message is saying how to say the name.
Yes. Look, I never said I was good at this. Thank you very much for the 50 quid. Greatly appreciated. I will make sure that someone gets a freebie on that one, and I'll say this one is on the house because a random do-gooder on the chat. Thank you very much. I will make sure that goes through to someone. I do try and give people freebies now and then. I'm not a penny pincher, and I'm not a when I can, I like to say don't worry about it to people. So yeah, greatly appreciated. Now I'm going to go on to my. Okay, go on.
I was just going to say quickly off of the back of that, sometimes it's really hard to make money fixing people's computers and stuff because you're just like, no, don't worry about that. Oh, don't worry about that. Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. I just had this part. I'll fix that thing. Oh, yeah. Wait, I just gave you like £15 of parts, or like £30 of parts. And I'm just like, it didn't cost me anything because it's just been sat on the shelf. But at the same time, that's £30 of parts.
It's a very delicate balance between not nickel and diming everyone who walks through the door, but also remembering that I'm in business to make money.
Yeah.
I am in business to make money. That is the objective. However, the other thing that I do put on that is I'm in business to make enough money. Enough money to be able to afford my living and progress my business. I'm not in business to make all the money. I'm in business to make enough money. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that's another conversation in and of itself. However, I do say, going on to my rant about the PS5, the fact that you can't use expanded storage on the PS5 on day one. They say that is an upcoming feature, and I'm like, that means that. And I said when I heard that, I said to me, I read that as one of two situations: either A, they haven't got it working yet, in which case the console was not finished. Or B, they don't want to use it because either A, they're going to sell it back to you at a later date. They're going to say, oh, if you pay for this software upgrade to your brand new console, we'll let you do this. DLC for your console. Or they're just waiting so later on down the line, they can be like, new fanfare, new expansion, new features for your PS5. We've developed the console even more with a feature that was supposed to be in it from day one anyway. And I'm like, I can't think of any reason that isn't a crappy move on Sony's part, basically.
Yes, I've not actually heard anything on this story.
Yeah, basically, yeah, the long and the short of it is the PS5, it was supposed to have expandable storage. And even if you put in like a proper NVMe, like a PCI Express Gen 4 NVMe SSD, you cannot use it. You cannot use external drives either.
You can't use them for PlayStation 5 for PlayStation 5 games.
My understanding is you can't use it for any games.
You can use it for PlayStation 4 games. You can use it for all of the back compat. You cannot use external storage for any of the PlayStation 5 games.
Okay, so it is just PlayStation 5 games then?
Yes, you can use the external. Right. You can use the external storage of any kind for any of the back compat titles.
Okay, I have misunderstood that situation then, because the fact that you could only... again, are you speaking from having seen this as a release or from upcoming stuff?
I don't know if it was on a actual release edition console, but it was on the consoles that were supplied to Digital Foundry. So on the physical hardware that was supplied to Digital Foundry, they were able to demonstrate this.
Okay, yeah, because That's fine. Yeah, that's fair.
And also, this is the message that they've been pushing the entire time, is that you will not be able to play PS5 on external storage, but you can use your back compat library.
Yeah,
you will be able to use specifically, officially sanctioned specific drives for PlayStation 5 games. And I think that is the part that they're saying doesn't work currently.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, the bit that I'm seeing here, I must admit, this is The Verge. However, it's simply just because they were the first people that came up. The PS5 features a dedicated internal slot that can theoretically fit a standard M2 SSD. However, the slot is disabled out of the box. This is reserved for a future update, said Sony. So the M.2 slot is disabled.
Fine. Okay.
So clarification on the issue there. Yeah, the M.2 slot is disabled and is reserved for a future update.
Yeah, but you can take a USB-A to SATA adapter, click an SSD into that, plug it into the drive, and the USB on the back, put our PS4 games.
Okay,
and you can, if you own a PS4 with downloaded games, you can plug that drive into that PS4, go export to external storage, pull it out, plug it into the PS5, and then basically play the game.
That's pretty cool then. Okay, that's tolerable then. I mean, I would like that M.2 slot to work, but the fact that there is another method you can use, that is fine. So yeah, I'm jumping the gun on that in that case.
Yeah. So you can do all of that. So yes, that works, and that's the same as the Xbox.
Yeah.
The Xbox will let you do that for Xbox One games.
Yeah.
And in general back compat games, but as far as I know, they will not let you play the new games, the series only games.
Yeah.
From anything other than the internal storage.
Yeah. See, that is 100% reasonable as far as I'm concerned, purely because, like, taking the PS5, for example, is like, the PS5, it's got all this magical internal SSD that can be accessed by the graphics card and stuff like that. And, like, yeah, of course, the PS5 games are going to be built specifically with that hardware in mind. That was the point from day one. And if they make it so you can run PS5 games from other sources, then that's not going to work. So, of course, they wouldn't let you do that. So, that's fine. Yeah, I relinquish my criticism.
That's why. And that's why there for the PlayStation is going to be the certification program. That certification program will say these drives will work with PlayStation 5 games.
I think
this will work for games. This will work for PlayStation 5 games.
Yeah. I think possibly there's some mileage in me going I think they should have had a couple of drives certified for day one. Because let's face it...
I'm imagining that there aren't actually any drives that exist that are good enough.
Really?
I can fully believe that.
Huh. Okay.
The drive's pulling 12 gigabytes a second.
Is that really what they're getting?
12 gigabytes effective throughput per second.
Woo, that's RAM speeds, man. That's literally RAM speeds.
That's the speeds that they were kind of saying. This is what we expect our decompression and stuff. And, the total peak figure, but yes. So it's kind of a case of it's just like, we're going to need the very latest of PCIe Gen 4 drives. And they're going to have to be the very best of the new ones with the brand new Phison controllers, with the brand new Samsung controllers.
Excuse me, I'm plugging in my headset because the low battery alarm is beeping at me.
Beep, 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 beep. Oh dear. Now we can say horrible things about him and he won't know. Hi.
I might have forgotten to charge my headset after last week's show.
This isn't the headset that you're going to modify and just stick, 25 watt hours of battery on the top.
No, but that's a really good idea, and I'm actually going to do that now you've mentioned it. We had that conversation regarding my Corsair headset, and I'm like, I could, but I don't really need to. However, this headset is my old headset, and it has a really wank battery life on it. So yes, that is an excellent idea, especially because at the moment, the setup we've got for the show right now seems to be working quite well. And this headset is just the one that I have kicking around in the shop. And I kind of don't want to bring in my Corsair headset into the shop, so I'm just going to continue using this ancient... Someone described these as Doctor Who headphones. So yeah, it's my Doctor Who headphones. For those of you playing along at home, someone guessed it correctly. These are Creative HS1200 headphones. And
remember when Creative were relevant?
Yeah, they're fairly compact on-ear wireless headphones, and they're not awful. That's all I'm going to say about them. There was
and think you can get fast charging now. Charging at 6 amps.
Oh no, I don't need to charge my headset at 6 amps.
But you do.
Like,
everyone needs 100-watt charging.
The battery in this headset is probably. I'm going to guess that the battery in this headset is 500 milliamp hours. That's my guess.
So it'll be charged in 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'll just press. I'll hold it near a socket on the wall. I'll just hold it near a power socket, and it'll just charge. It'll wirelessly charge from the 50 hertz hub. Right. I need to bounce back a little bit because there was the chat that you pay for, the super chat. There was one of those. Oh no, it's okay. Here we go. Tefulhunden ICT. Tufulhunden sends $5. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about my pronunciation. Graham, love your channel. Tried to repair your clips. How do you pronounce clips?
Klipsch.
Klipsch. Is that it?
I've no idea, but that's how I've always pronounced it.
Yeah, I know the brand. It's one of those brands where I'm just like, I hope I never have to say that word out loud because I don't know how to say it. Pro Media Speaker and System failed. Oh no. What happened to it, man? See what you can do. Speaker systems, though, unless you've got a power issue, are harder than it looks. A lot of the time you think audio can't be that hard, but audio stuff is full of amplifiers and power amps and stuff like that. And sometimes those are a lot harder than they look. Like, I've done, like, replacing a USB port, that's super easy. I do all the easy stuff on my channel. However, yeah. But yeah, good luck. And I'm glad you had a go at any rate, because every time you try and do something, you get slightly better at it because you learn something. So yeah. That's it.
Just kind of a case of, certainly if it's something you've already replaced, it doesn't matter if you get frustrated with it and then just chuck it in a box.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Let's see. You don't want 6 amps running across your head. No.
I was thinking about a detachable battery. Sorry, when we're saying this, I was envisioning a detachable battery that you connect via, like an XT40 or Dean's,
Yeah. What do we got? I've got my 4-cell. I got my 4-cell 1300. That can just, with a bit of that, we'll put that there, and XT60 into the side.
And then you put another one on the other side. Then you cut out from some paper some little cat ears, to hide them.
Now it's oh no, I've forgotten the name.
Miko.
What's the Caramel Dancing? Yep, we'll make a Caramel Dancing headset with LiPo batteries. It'll be amazing.
Yeah,
that's it. Absolutely. Project. However, I definitely wanted to have, I need an XT60 powered headset, definitely. Mm-hmm. So yeah, don't forget the antenna. Well, I can use the microphone for that. This is the worst microphone in the history of microphones, perhaps ever, and I will never use it. So that could kind of be an antenna. Maybe. Can't wait for the wisps of smoke. Quite so. We need a topic. Have you seen anything interesting going on in chat?
No. Just more ramblings about horrific headset modifications and just generally lipoing everything up the wazoo.
Cigar New Pain. I have a sorry if I butchered your name as well. I have a Lenovo 590. It was dead and burning VIN section, so I changed A04407. Oh, MOSFET. Okay. After you check, the board is on, but charging showing 255% without the battery. Good grief. That's an interesting one.
I am successfully charged at 225%.
Yeah, 255% without battery. I mean, that sounds like the battery charger section is screwed. So on a motherboard, you've got your main power rail. Then somewhere near the battery connector, there's going to be 2 or 3 MOSFETs. And you'll have one MOSFET that handling power from the battery into the system. And then there'll be 2 MOSFETs that are the battery charger that handle the main power rail charging the battery. So there's 2 ways that the battery connects into the system. There's the charge and the discharge path. So that's where you need to be looking. And also there'll be a controller that is running that battery charger show, and there will also be current sense around that area, where there'll be a current sense resistor where the battery charger is measuring amount of power going to or from the battery. So my guess is the battery charger chip is screwed, or the current sense circuit around it. That's all I can tell you without looking at it. But yeah, something in that battery charger is screwed. However, I can't help but wonder whether you might need to just quit while you're ahead. If you've got a laptop that starts and runs, that might be as close as you're going to get. So that's my take on that one.
Absolutely. Random question about the Cooler Master case. Was it a Q300L that we got, or was it the 400L?
It was the 400L.
The bigger one. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Do you still have that?
Yes.
Or did it actually get used for a build? Because I can't remember what actually ever happened.
It's your case. That. You bought it and you sent it to the shop, and it's sitting out in the back room waiting for you to tell me what to do with it.
Yes, indeed. It's only because someone asked a question about the 300L, and I couldn't remember if it was that one or...
Yes, the 300L is the micro ATX version of it. It's basically identical, but it's micro instead of full ATX.
I guess the comment on that is, but it's micro ATX.
Yeah, true. Micro ATX is kind of dead. There's choice of motherboards is bad, is the problem with micro ATX. Yeah. I want micro ATX to be a thing because for everything else, micro ATX is all right. You get a really good balance of compromise where you can do a moderately compact system with a huge graphics card in it. But just choice of motherboards is bad.
I guess, yeah. My only comment with that is always just the fact of, or you could get a small ATX case.
Yeah.
And just actually have a full-size ATX motherboard in a case that is probably actually slightly smaller.
Corsair 220T. It's a great case.
Unknown stamped tin box.
You shush. Night Fusion with a super chat there of £2. What's up, Night Fusion? How you doing? My phone charger gives me anxiety. It's 5 volts, 24 amps. What standard is that?
I'm presuming it's an Oppo with VOOC Extreme or something.
Does it have a cooling fan on it? I'm guessing it's got a cooling fan on it.
I don't know. But why would you do 5 volt, 24 amp?
I was going to say, surely at that point it's going to step up to 9 volts.
I was going to say, why wouldn't you just do 24 volt, 5 amp?
Is that a standard
kind of thing?
Well, I suppose that would be power delivery.
Not as a standard, but just kind of as a case of that would surely generate lower heat.
Yeah.
Because there's less electron flow.
It's a Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra. I don't know the Xiaomi very well.
It's a what?
A Xiaomi. Is that not how you pronounce it? Xiaomi.
Xiaomi.
Oh, come on, that wasn't bad. I wasn't a million miles off. I'm not sure if you're laughing or not, if you've just muted.
No, I haven't muted.
Okay, Discord completely filtered out your laugh there. And you were just sitting there grinning at the camera. And I'm like, I think he's laughing, but I can't hear it. Either way. Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra. Do you have to say it with that particular inflection? Xiaomi?
I mean, kind of. The problem is I've only been told it with that singular inflection on it, and I know that Cantonese is such a heavily tonal language that I don't want to change the tone of it.
Fair enough.
To end up saying something like, your mother is a dog. I mean, it's like my favourite thing with the fact of, my father is 47 years old and my father has 47 anuses. Is literally the same words in Spanish, but there's a inflection on one of the letters.
Oh no.
That's it. And I'm just like, languages. Why did we do this, languages? This is horrific.
That's terrible, Muriel.
And also the fact of capitalization is the difference between helping your Uncle Jack off of a horse and helping your Uncle Jack off a horse.
Quite so. On that bombshell, I'm going to bounce back to micro ATX motherboards because a couple of people are just like, oh, what about this one? And I'm like, you know what? What about this one? There was an MSI Mortar B550. I really like... I've got a love-hate relationship with MSI right now, I can tell you that much. However,
I have never seen their motherboards do anything good on the RAM front.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Literally every time I've seen XMP issues, it's been an MSI motherboard.
You remember, literally today. You remember I was telling you guys about that 5600X and the 37 Founders Edition that was having MSI issues? Sorry, MSI issues. Well, yeah, it was having MSI issues. It was having XMP issues. MSI motherboard. However, the B550 Mortar, that is a nice board. I'll give you that one. Also, someone also mentioned the Tough B550. What's that one? I like the Tough series. Asus Tough B550. Let's get a load of this.
Was it also Corsair Pro RGB RAM?
No, it was not. It was Crucial Ballistics.
Good God.
Yeah, the Tough Gaming looks good. Is that... Oh, no, it does have two M2 slots. For a minute, I thought it only had a single M.2 slot, and I'm like, So, yeah, that's got four RAM slots on it as well. Did the MSI have 4 RAM slots? Although, I don't know how much I actually care about having 4 RAM slots. Yeah, the MSI had 4 RAM slots as well. Yeah, those both look like good builds. Yeah, okay, I'll concede that. There are a couple of good ones available right now. Yep, I'll give you that. I mean, it's been a while since I've looked at micro ATX because, as I say, I'm just like, there are cases around that will give you something that is about the size of a micro ATX case with full-size ATX in it. So, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm pleased that someone knew what I was on about with the issue with age in Spanish.
Fair enough. I'm just hoping that we're not offending anyone with me butchering names and you coming up with various languageisms. Let's call it that.
Ratatouille. Wait a minute.
The Mortar is the shorter version of the Tomahawk. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And no issues on an MSI Z490. Yeah, Intel seemed to have less issues with XMP in my experience. AMD definitely seemed to have a bigger XMP issue. I don't know whose fault it is. However,
MSI's.
I've got friends who've got Asus boards who are having XMP issues, but they have Corsair RGB RAM. So yeah, we can blame. So what we're establishing here is that all of the XMP issues that everyone in the world is having is either MSI's fault or Corsair RGB Pro's fault. Let's make that assumption.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No evidence.
That's it. We've solved it. That's it. We can go home now.
Yeah,
good.
That's it. Thanks for coming, everyone. Goodbye. Good night.
World peace has been achieved.
You know, we say that, but we're actually coming up to the 2-hour mark. So, however, no. Have we got anything else to talk about? Let's find one more topic.
Just the other interesting thing about Ryzen 5000 and significant performance differences between dual rank and quad rank.
Oh, I saw Billzoy's been banging on about that, hasn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't watched his videos on it, but I've seen that and been like, I'm going to watch that. Can you TLDR it for everyone?
4 rank or higher.
So RAM. This is 4 modules.
No, 4 rank.
Yeah, okay.
A rank is a number of sides of modules which is populated.
Yes.
A module can be 1 or 2 rank, depending on whether it has memory chips on one side or both sides. I always
get it mixed up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ranks are not channels.
Yeah.
It running in 4 rank mode can either be attained with 2 sticks, each stick being 2 rank, or with 4 sticks, each one being single rank.
Gotcha.
You are looking at something like 10 to 16% performance difference in games.
So
based off of Gamers Nexus numbers.
Is that 10 to 16% better in 4 rank.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's enough to actually change that's enough to actually say let's pick different RAM, isn't it? So yeah, that's interesting. Is there much memory these days that you can buy that actually specifies in advance without having to do lots of research, that actually says what the rank of it is and what brand chips it has on it? Because one of the reasons why I don't really pay much attention to specific types of memory is that, like, when you're browsing Amazon and you just go, blah, 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 16 gigabyte DDR4, sort by price, lowest first, start scrolling. They don't tell you any of this.
No, because they kind of don't want you to know.
Yeah.
Because they want to be able to multi-source. They want to be able to multi-source from multi-manufacturers.
Yeah. So how do you find out then? Is there resources for this, or do you just have to hope for the best?
Maths. Part of it is maths. You can tell what memory chips it is based off of the combination of speed and latencies. If the, I can't remember exactly what it is. If a module mega transfer speed and the latency, I can't remember which latency is, I think it's the second one, divide and become less than 200, it's likely to be Samsung B die.
Okay.
If it is very high, clock speed rated, so like 4,400, 4,800 with a, is it TRCD? I can't remember if it was something like a TRCD of 19, something like that. It's likely to be Rev E, Micron Rev E or Rev J.
Is there a cheat sheet that has this on it?
Watching Buildzoids videos.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Basically.
Actually, hardcore overclocking. It's a channel that scares me a lot because that guy is very good, and that's a channel that gives me imposter syndrome. So let me put it that way.
Yes, that's with that, and it's kind of a case of it's why the RAM I bought is actually its XMP profile is CAS19, so is really bad.
Yeah, I was going to say that's high,
but it's guaranteed Samsung B die.
So
running it at 3600 or 3800, I should be able to run like CAS14.
Yeah. So it's one of those.
So it's a case of I can't XMP it.
Yeah.
But if I manually bang in timings, I should get ridiculously tight timings out of it.
Yeah.
Or reasonably good frequency and timings kind of thing. So yeah.
Enthusiast RAM.
Yeah, basically, because it's 4400 mega transfer.
Yeah, that's
speed
cool.
Rated, but CAS of 19, which then gives Samsung B die.
Yeah.
Somewhere, a couple of the manufacturers do specify on their website for certain kits specifically what they're using, but that's only some of them some of the time. And like there'll be like the overclocking modules will specify, oh, we're using Samsung B die.
Yeah, that's
and stuff like that. But that's kind of the only one that
it's worth noting
specify, as far as I'm aware.
Quite a lot of people in chat going sort of, oh, no overclocks here are all running stock, and it's just like we are talking about memory speeds here, and we are talking about having XMP turned on. And if you're running
XMP,
if you're running a Ryzen 3000 or probably 2000 as well, I think, but at least Ryzen 3000 and up, and you have XMP turned off, you are leaving a notable amount of performance on the table, off the table rather. Modern AMD chips love RAM speed, and if you switch on the XMP profile for your RAM will go from 2133 megahertz up to 3000 plus or whatever memory you've bought, and you will get significantly more performance from your CPU. This is not overclocking in the traditional sense of overdoing it all. It's a factory overclock. The memory is intended to run at this speed. However, XMP, it's a very debated and highly controversial topic of, does this count as overclocking or not? Because the CPU manufacturers say yes, it's an overclock, but the memory manufacturers are like, no, we intend the memory to run at this speed and these settings. So it's, but either way,
again,
you want it
according
to
the specifications, according to JEDC, it is overclocking because they only provide 2133 and 2400 as SPD speeds. So anything over that is overclocking and is outside of specification.
And it's
it depends on how strict a definition you're using of what is overclocking. Am I only running things precisely in the agreed standard setting? Because if you are, you're probably not going to be using an awful lot of stuff.
XMP does increase the voltage normally. It does. XMP does run a little bit more voltage. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And of course, it does also bear mention, because there was also a big hoo-ha about AMD going, or people saying we won't honour warranties if XMP has been turned on, because of course you've got to remember, when you run your memory at a higher voltage, it's not the memory that you're sending that voltage to, it's the memory controller, which is in your CPU. However, I'm not going to say in all cases, but in the vast majority of cases, your CPU really doesn't care about 1.35 volts to RAM. That's not an issue. So I don't think that's a problem at all. But XMP is a freaking rabbit hole, man. And XMP issues are extremely common, especially on the Ryzen platform. Which is nothing doing. Ryzen is definitely the faster places to be right now, but you definitely need to keep an open mind. But you can say the same thing about Intel. You could say, I'm going to buy an Intel for stability, but it's going to be slower than an AMD. That's a fact. That's a fact right now.
I would say that with XMP, if you're particularly concerned, it is a case of making sure that you're running something like a 32 or 3400 megahertz kit that is on your specific motherboard vendor's QVL list. Running at 32 or 34, you're basically not going to have issues.
I've seen no issues with. I've seen some area. The only machine I've seen struggling with 3400 that I had to underrun at 3200 was a really cheap computer. And it was also a Ryzen 2000 series, which is obviously an older series as well. For pretty much all other scenarios, the only time I've seen issues is 3600 and up, which is when you're starting to get into the, I'm not going to say extreme speed, but certainly 3600 and up is when you're getting into the higher speed stuff. 32, 3400 stuff seems to be a safe bet. I've seen no issues there at all. And I've got a couple of computers dotted around the shop and my machines at home, all running 3400, no problem whatsoever. In fact, I think my machine at home is 3400, but whatever. So as I say, don't be afraid of XMP. Give it a try.
However, absolutely. And the other thing to be aware of with that is that possibly it might be cheaper to buy a 3600 mega transfer kit, but then run it at 3400 than buy a 3400 kit. Just because of volume of sales and volume of supply.
That's a good point. Buy expensive RAM and then underrun it. So we had to do that on the computer this morning, but
absolutely.
I think that's that.
Also, don't forget, it might be called DOCP.
DOCP. Gigabyte Asus call it DOCP. MSI call it AXMP. And Asus, then Gigabyte call it something else.
I think Gigabyte just call it memory profile. At least that's what they call it in my motherboard. Is literally just memory profile, and I'm like, thanks, that's really helpful.
I'm going to Google search it. Either way, though, as I say, don't be afraid of XMP. It can cause issues, but as I say, it's worth having a go. And if you've got it turned off and you've got a Ryzen CPU, you're probably not getting the most out of your CPU by a fair long shot. So, definitely worth a try. Anyway, I'm going to answer one more question just because it came up, and then I think we're ready to wrap up, unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about. Okay, last one I'm going to cover then. Otto de Chat said earlier on, I wonder, Adamant IT with a shop like yours, what's the recommended amount of capital to begin a business like yours? Or is that a secret answer? I wouldn't, I'll be upfront about it. I started my shop and I've got a tiny little shop. Rent is extremely low in my shop. So again, this is a business that was started on a shoestring. And I started with a startup budget of £10,000. When I was opening my business, my dad turned around to me and said, look, I gave your sisters money for their weddings and for their houses and stuff. I never had the balls to go into business on my own. Here's 10 grand to go and start your business that you want to start. And that 10 grand got me through year one. And by the end of year one, I was financially stable, basically. And it also paid for the cost of getting into the shop, because obviously you've got your rent, you've got the security deposit, you've got the solicitor's fees, you've got the insurance, you've got getting the utilities in, you've got any equipment you need to buy, you've got the cost of building the counter in the shop, and just physically building a counter costs, a few £100 and stuff like that. So yeah, as I say, if you want to go into business, you're going to need, I would say between £5,000 and £10,000. I would try and have on hand. Obviously, your mileage may vary. This is just how I did it. Might be completely different for you. Obviously, if you can get to the point where you've got all of this equipment already, and if you've got the nous to just buy some MDF and just bang together a really crappy counter of your own, and if you get a shop in a really cheap location where it's really cheap, you may well be able to do this much cheaper than I did. However, that was my startup cost. That's what got me going. So.
And I would, just to comment on that, is a case of loosely knowing what your rent is. I would say that your rent is maybe only 75% of what I would have expected for a position.
Yeah.
I would have expected an extra maybe 25% costing for your position, even given the small size. And to go out to a normal shop, you're looking at it being double the rent that you pay.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah. The one thing to remember though is location. You need to. There is the old adage of build it and they will come. However, you've got to build it where they can see it. But starting a computer shop on the back end of an industrial estate where there's no footfall, bit of a sketchy place to start. You may well struggle. If you're starting in the middle of an industrial estate in the back end of nowhere, you may as well be operating out of your bedroom and not have the overheads in the first place. So yeah, if you're going to get a physical premises and actually open a shop, make sure you do it in a place where people can see it. Doesn't have to be central high street because that's expensive. Look for secondary position. Like my shop is secondary position. I have a high street address, but I'm at the very, very, very top of the high street. So I'm right on the very edge of town. But I'm directly opposite the main car park for the town. So people, they come into town, they park their car, they walk out of the car park, and I'm right across the road. And then they walk down onto the high street. So I have secondary position that makes my shop very cheap. However, I have direct visibility for where everyone is walking to and from. So that's what makes my position work. Also, reviewing and playing more RPM. Thanks for the $5 Canadian.
Dollary days.
Indeed. Canadian rupees. So yeah, I don't think that's about it. Graham should move in with Teddy Bear Corner across the street. Ha! That's funny because that's the name of the shop across the street. Teddy Bear Corner is a really cute little shop. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, my shop is indeed the shed on the side of a hotel. Right, have we got anything else?
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think that's it. There was another good question from Noel Dowds about musical tastes. However, we are out of time. I'd love to answer that another day. I like lots of different music, but
my sole comment on that is I'm going to say that I got the Linkin Park limited edition Hybrid Theory pack.
That looked sweet. I saw that. That looked like a really sweet CD.
No, it's not a CD.
Oh, what is it?
It's a full-on gift box.
Oh, cool.
So yes, with an actual vinyl in and stuff as well. So
that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
God, Hybrid Theory was a good album. Like, everyone makes fun of Hybrid Theory, but you can say what you like about Hybrid Theory, but that album was fucking unstoppable in the day. That was unstoppable. Right, we've got to go. Otherwise, we're going to start talking about music. And I would love to do that. However, I think everyone's got places to be.
Someone remind us next week.
No, we can't have it. Well, we can. We can absolutely.
Someone remind us next week.
Music. Yeah, someone remind us next week to talk music. Also, Rip Chester. He was a good guy. Good guy. Pink Floyd. I love the Division Bell. Not really interested in any of the other stuff. Next time we're going. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Good night. Farewell.
Thank you for all the super chats.
Please join the Discord.
Yep. Thank you for all the super chats. Please join the Discord. The links are in the description down below. Follow me on Twitter and stuff like that so I can be relevant on Twitter.
If you feel like this has been worthy of your money, there is also a Patreon which you can subscribe to, which will even get you special perks in the sense of an extra channel in the Discord server.
That's it. There aren't really many perks, but if you do like it and you want to pitch in, always appreciated, never required. Past that, I've been Graham. That's been Caradog over there. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I'm going to hit stop. We're ending.
Good night.
I will see you. We'll see you next week. And if you want more content from me personally, I will be on Twitch tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time. Twitch.tv/NethSM. Thank you and good night. Bye, everyone. I'm hitting end stream now. Bye. And it's done. We're off.